Why don't flying cars exist? It's a question people have been asking for nearly 100 years. And yet, somehow, despite smartphones, artificial intelligence, reusable rockets, and self-driving vehicles, most of us still travel exactly the same way we did decades ago. On roads, stuck in traffic, waiting at red lights. The strange thing is, flying cars already exist. Engineers have built them. Companies have tested them. Some can even legally fly today. So if the technology already exists, why aren't we all flying to work every morning? Why aren't our cities filled with vehicles moving through the sky? And why have so many flying car companies failed after promising to change transportation forever? The answer turns out to be far more complicated than simply building a car that can fly. Because the biggest problem with flying cars isn't the flying, it's everything else. Here is the part most people miss. Flying cars are not imaginary anymore. They are real machines. Some look like small aircraft with folding wings. Some look like giant drones with passenger seats. Some are designed to drive on roads and then take off from a runway. Others are designed to rise straight up into the air, like a helicopter. So technically, the dream is already here. But building one vehicle that can drive and fly is not the same as building a transport system for millions of people. A prototype can work in a test field. A city is different. A city has weather, buildings, power lines, noise rules, crowded streets, emergency situations, and millions of ordinary people who just want to get to work safely. That is where the dream starts to fall apart. The first problem is safety. If a normal car breaks down, you pull over. Maybe you wait for recovery. Maybe you get annoyed, but most of the time, you survive. Now imagine the same thing happens, 1,000 feet in the air. Suddenly, a small mechanical failure becomes a life or death situation. This is why aircraft are designed very differently from cars. They need backups, inspections, maintenance schedules, certified parts, trained pilots, emergency procedures, and systems that keep working even when something goes wrong. Commercial aviation is one of the safest forms of travel in the world, but it only became that safe because the rules are extremely strict. Flying cars would need that same level of safety, but for everyday commuters, people who are tired, distracted, late for work, bad at parking, and sometimes barely paying attention. That is a terrifying engineering problem. Now imagine the morning rush hour. But instead of cars on roads, every vehicle is in the air. Some are climbing, some are descending, some are turning, some are landing, some are trying to avoid buildings, some are trying to avoid each other. Road traffic is difficult enough, and roads are basically flat. The sky is three-dimensional. That means traffic can move forward and backward, left and right, up and down, all at the same time. To make that safe, you would need a completely new kind of traffic system. Automated routing, collision avoidance, emergency landing zones, weather tracking, no-fly areas, altitude lanes, communication between every vehicle, and it would all need to work perfectly, every second of every day. Because in the sky, one mistake does not just create a traffic jam, it creates a disaster. But even if we solve safety, and even if we solve traffic, there is still a bigger problem. Energy. Cars are efficient because the ground carries their weight. The wheels roll. The engine or motor only has to push the car forward. Flying vehicles do not get that advantage. Every second they are in the air, they must fight gravity. They must push air downward. hard enough to keep the entire vehicle lifted. That takes a huge amount of power. This is why helicopters are expensive to operate. It is why drones often have short flight times. And it is why electric flying cars are so difficult. Modern batteries are improving, but they are still heavy. And when a flying vehicle carries heavy batteries, it needs more lift. More lift requires more power. More power requires bigger batteries. And bigger batteries make the vehicle heavier. The same loop appears again. This is one of the biggest reasons flying cars have not taken over the world. Not because they cannot fly, but because flying efficiently is brutally difficult. And then there are the problems people rarely think about. Noise. A single drone can be annoying. A helicopter can be heard from far away. Now imagine thousands of flying vehicles above a city, every morning and every evening. Even if the motors are electric, the rotors still have to move huge amounts of air. That creates sound, a lot of sound. Then there is infrastructure. Where do they land? Where do they charge? Who maintains them? What happens during bad weather? What happens if one needs to land immediately? A normal car needs roads, parking spaces, petrol stations, chargers, mechanics, insurance, rules, and signs. Flying cars would need all of that, plus an entire aviation system above the city. And then there is cost. Aircraft are expensive. Aircraft maintenance is expensive. Insurance is expensive. Pilot training is expensive. Autonomous flight systems are expensive. So even if flying cars work, they may not become something normal people own. They may become something closer to air taxis. Useful in certain places. Amazing for certain journeys. But not a replacement for every car on every road. So why don't flying cars exist? They do, but not in the way people imagined. The future probably will not be every family owning a flying car, parked outside their house, ready to take off from the driveway. The future is more likely to be specialized flying vehicles, air taxis, emergency transport, airport shuttles, remote medical access, short trips where flying actually makes sense. Because the real lesson is this: inventing a machine is only the first step. To change the world, that machine has to be safe, affordable, quiet, efficient, reliable, and usable by millions of people. Flying cars are not one invention. They are a whole transport system, trying to fit into a world that was never designed for them. And that is why, for now, the flying car future is still stuck on the ground.